G'day, I'm Johanna and welcome to another Passive Royal video. I thought I would take it a bit slower today, something a bit more casual, kind of leaning into a knitting podcast, but the thing is that I also sew and I totally have updates to share on that as well. Why not just kind of craft cast if that's a thing? So get comfy and I'll just show you what I'm up to. Today I'm working on this Aran 8-ply knit for my husband. I have been knitting this since before I was pregnant, so that's about 2.5 years ago at least. But the thing is that I started it, realized I was pregnant, and then put it away for probably 2 years. So I've only put it back out again in the recent months as it was summer and it was a bit just too heavy for summer, but as it's cooling down I'm getting back into it, and it's what I'm probably going to work on today while I chat with you. There's a light that we're going to ignore it. It will go away soon enough. But in case you haven't heard about me talk about it before, this is the pattern that I am using. I'm using I always say patterns, but apparently it's patterns. I don't know, you tell me. But this is an 8-ply Aran. It's a saddle shoulder. It is a folded over collar. It's super cute, super cute. Here are some of the other patterns that also come in this booklet. Personally, I actually don't really like any of the other ones. They knew the winner when they picked the cover of this. I saw it, fell in love with it. I probably paid premium. I think I even got it on eBay because it was just the easiest way that I could find it at the time. I'll show you just this particular page, not the whole pattern obviously. But this is what it looks like, and it comes in 2 lengths. You can see here I've got my own personal notes. I find that I always forget, especially when I'm picking up and putting down projects, what needle size I use because I'm quite a tight knitter. So I do tend to have to go up and half a needle size also. And I always forget. And then I always have to swatch after I'm already halfway through a project to remember what needle size I have, because of course I use interchangeables, well I used to. And I swip and swap and I forget. So I ended up having to swatch this again, just the ribbing. I knew that I went to 4.5 millimeters for the body. So it recommends 4 millimeters. I know that I normally go up to a 4.5 for an 8-ply. That's just me. But I forgot how I adjusted for the ribbing. So I had to swatch the ribbing. I'll get like mid-project. Am I the only one who has to swatch mid-project? I feel so silly, but I had to. I didn't know. So before I forgot, I wrote it down because Lord knows I'm almost finished the back panel and I'm about to start knitting the sleeves. And I panicked for a second about, oh no, what needle size do I need to use for the sleeves because I don't remember. And thank goodness I wrote it down. Also, what size? I forgot what size I picked for my husband between starting it and then picking it up again in the past few months. So I had to count my stitches that I had on the needle to then allocate it back to what pattern size. Oh, it was a thing. It was a thing. Lesson learned is take notes, okay? Take notes, write notes down. If you're gonna leave it on Whip Island, take some notes, put them in the pattern so it's all in one place. But what I did want to show you is how the saddle shoulder looks. Isn't that cute? I don't know if it's focusing or not. We'll pretend it is. But there's a cable, this large center detail cable on the sleeve. It goes all the way up. But it's also nice. There's no like armhole shaping. It's just bang up. There's a bit of shaping for the shoulders. No dramas, just cast off. And then we put some stitches on hold and then we'll knit up the collar and it's going to be amazing. It's gonna be great. Now, while I sit and chat about this pattern in particular, because I will, can I just say that I like knitting flat. I feel like nobody knits flat anymore. Nobody just wants to get up and work. Magics. Nobody wants to knit flat anymore, and I don't really I do and I don't understand it. Personally, it's what I've always done, so it's all I know. And I don't know really what to do with that. Everyone's into this tuck down in the round, trying it on as you go, and the idea of trying on my knitting while I'm knitting and then making design choices that way, it scares me. Now, most people would say knitting flat scares them a bit more, but to be honest, I like being able to lay my pieces out flat on garments that I have that are similar. So for example, when picking the size to knit my husband, of course, you know, how much ease do I want to include for the pattern for him? And it's easy enough that the pattern does, I'm pretty sure it says, yes. So it has the bust chest, it has the chest size, the chest in centimeters. And then it also has the actual size, which is really great for when you're trying to figure out ease. Amazing, great, love that. But the thing is that you can assume what vibe you're going for, but it's gonna maybe turn out not so great. So my number one tip, sorry, my yarn is like, do you guys, oh, it just undid itself. Do you guys ever like wind your ball between your cable by accident all the time? I do. So let's get back to it. But yeah, trying to pick the size that has the right amount of ease for the look and the vibe that you're going for. It's stressful. It's totally stressful. Totally get it. But my personal trick is, especially when knitting for someone you know, find a jumper or a sweater or whatever it is that you're knitting that they have in a similar-ish style that they might like, and just measure flat against that. So my husband has a particular jumper. It's a fisherman's rib from Target, like Target Australia from years ago before it was Kmart. And it fits pretty well. It's definitely an 8-ply-ish knit. It's definitely a bit airy, and it's a similar-ish weight to what we have going on here. So what I do is I measured the chest width in that. I also measured the torso and then the neck gap and the this and the that. I measured it up completely and then lined it up to the pattern suggestions, but also to the armholes. So I found that it told me to knit a greater length for the underarm to the waist, I guess, underarm to the hips, than my husband really needed. And you know, the most dorky thing that you can do is knit a jumper that is just too long. It's a very fine line, and I know that that's why people knit top down in the round, because it's a lot easier to then find that bottom length. But it's also not that hard to just measure from where you want it to fall on the hip up to your armpit. Is it that hard? And it's even easier if you use a jumper or piece of clothing that you know works well. So I just do that every now and then. I lay my husband's jumper flat on the floor, even though I've measured it and I've chosen the pattern and done everything accordingly. I just lay it out flat onto there. Obviously this is turning out a bit narrow. It's actually not that narrow. Here, hold on. Here, let me flat. So that's actually quite, you know, even for me, it's quite breasty. And then it's also still very elastic. So I will block it to be a bit more wider, which then also will shorten it a little bit. So when I lay it out on my husband's jumper as a template, I make sure to stretch it out because I know it'll stretch in the block. But it actually shortens it. So even though it looks super long, it's definitely too long for me, it's lining up and it's lining up fine. So let's not stress. It's not that hard. Find a piece of clothing that fits well and just line up your flat pieces to match it. Honestly, it actually makes trying to decide where the armhole begins and ends so much easier. So much easier, in my personal opinion, because you're just taking a direct measurement. And it's also because I sew a lot. So I'm used to working with flat pieces and how to adjust flat pieces when they're sewn up. So that's just the way that I like to work. Like to work in flat pieces. I better know how to adjust them because I kind of use my sewing knowledge to fiddle and diddle with that. So yeah, anyway, but that's what I'm working on. I've been working on it for a while, as you know. Now, I actually have some acquisitions, which I think is something that people do in these knitting podcasts. So why not have a little chit chat about acquisitions? Now, I don't have any yarn acquisitions, but I do have pattern acquisitions. I go to my local knitting guild around where I live, and it's great. It's actually, I'm so glad I took the leap of faith to go to one last year. It's actually something that I look forward to now. People know my name, I know people's names. It's like a whole like, oh, it's nice. It's so nice. And again, if you've been on the channel before, you might know that I like to collect vintage patterns. And so the ladies at the guild have definitely picked up on that from me. So a lot of people donate old things to them, whether it's their mother who has passed away, or they just don't knit and craft anymore and they just want to give it to a loving home. They pass it on to these ladies and we all kind of get first dibs before we send it off to the charity shop or any other place where we think it might find a home. So I actually have 3 pattern books that I was so kindly able to acquire. We have this beautiful Scottish Fair Isles Patons book. Look at that. How nice is that? I'm assuming it's mid to late 1940s, which I definitely like. She's cute. She's cute. Where else? That one's stunning. Look at that cardigan. Look at that. I also love in some of these, so a lot of vintage patterns, especially the Patons vintage patterns, They use names, like men's and women's names for their knitting, but sometimes you find books that they actually use places. So you can see that they've used Scottish, I don't know what you want to call them, villages, precincts, regions, and you can see that that's Moray, and we have Dumfries, and so on. So that's actually such a cute little booklet. I dream of making things out of here. But yeah, it's so lovely. Oh, and there's a little girls one as well. It's not just women's, which is nice. It's nice to have kind of that range. Oh, and there's a young man, a little man. How cute. I also now have 2 acquisitions, I think from mid to late 80s. And I won't open this one up, but there's all of these. Can patterns have this? This is so much easier. I know that my modern one has this, but if we could have like chunky boy magazines with this many again, that would be so good. Now, is there any in particular that I like? Oh my goodness, there's a map of the world. Could you imagine? That's too much. That's too much. But anyway, I think I actually do like, I like this one because it's an asymmetrical, come on. It's an asymmetrical Aran knit. That's cute. I like it. Anyway, so that was that one. And then we have a baby book. Now, my Bubba is no longer a tiny Bubba, but they just are cute. And there's always a baby around somewhere that could use a hand knit. How lovely is that baby blanket? Or baby shawl, whatever we want to call it. But yeah, this one has lots of cardigans, baby shawls, dresses, not a lot of rompers, but there was those few that I showed you at the end. So those were from the Guild. Thank you, Ruth. You know who you are. And I have one more knitting pattern acquisition, and I found this at the op shop the other day when I was dropping off some other things. And it's a little hooded towel. It's what brand is it? It's Cedar. We don't get a lot of them here in Australia. But it's a little hooded towel. How cute. What is it? It's a bunny, a mouse. Is it 2 bears or is it like a bear and something else? I don't know. Oh, it's a dog. It's a dog with the fluffy ears. I'm gonna pretend that's a bear, a dog, a mouse, and a rabbit. It looks like it's just seed or moss, a seed or a moss-ish stitch, or maybe even a linen stitch, but it's so cute. It's so cute. Oh my god. My baby's too big. I can't make it, but it's here. It's cute. And for whatever next baby enters our universe, they're gonna be getting one of these. Now, those are the knitting acquisitions. It's really not that much. So why don't we talk about some sewing acquisitions? I don't know if that's what you're here for. Let me know if you like want to see my sewing acquisitions or not. I have a lot of sewing acquisitions. All of these are new acquisitions, but I won't bore you with all of them. Maybe a few, but we'll see. But the main things are, these are 2 vintage patterns that I picked up at the op shop at the same time. So little kids overalls and little, I don't know what the girls ones were called. They're not pinafores, but you know what I mean. Little dresses, so cute. And little boys and girls pajamas. Look at that double breast. Whoops, look at that double breast. How cute. I think that they're both size 2, which my son is just about to grow out of, but we're a big girl, we can grade. It's fine, we can totally grade a pattern. But what I am and what I need to make for my bubby is some nice flannelette pajamas. Now let me just say, the shops, stores, manufacturers, can we not do polyester? Can we just not? Can we just not do polyester, please? It's just too much. It's too much. So instead what I did is I bought 2 sewing patterns at Spotlight when they had a sale. I picked up this one first because it seemed the most versatile. It's honestly, it's just a pajama pattern. Doesn't matter if it's boys or girls, but they've included some ruffles for the girls. I think they're a bit silly, but hey. So we got a little bud, pants, button down, nothing too complicated. And we also have this other pattern, which they of course put a sticker right on his face. Poor kid. But this one's a bit more of like a crossover top, so it's not a button down front. And I thought that would be really interesting, just so, you know, buttons on a toddler. It can be hard out there. It can be hard out there. So I thought this would be really cool. But I didn't realize there actually is a button on the back of the neck. It's an open back neck. It's an open back neck. We'll see how it goes. I do like the idea of it. It is giving scrubs. It's giving scrubs, but that's fine. It's fine. The ladies at the guild also donated to me a grey background flannelette with doggies printed on it. Now, there's a reason it was free, but grateful nonetheless. Little man loves doggos. And it was free, so why not whip it up? I'm not going to pull it out right now, but what I will pull out is this Duckies flannelette. How cute. How cute. I honestly don't know how many meters I got. I want to say I got 2, but I feel like I got more than 2. I really should only need 2 to make 1 set of pajamas, but I might even have enough to make like 1 pair of pants and 2 tops, or 2 pants and 1 top for little men. But yeah, I'll figure out. I think I'm leaning towards just the classic button down for the Duckies. Now the reason that the Duckies is so special is that I actually made a just a flannelette blanket swaddle thing for him when he was just before he was born, and we brought him home in the hospital in it. He was so cute. So that particular Duckies fabric is very sentimental. Obviously this is more. I've bought more. But it's like my baby, but he's not so baby anymore. But anyway, I'm boring you. Now, coming up with winter, I also have some blanket material that I never turned into a blanket for little man. I was gonna make him a little sleeping bag sack thing. Didn't get around to it. We didn't end up needing it, but we do have a little cardigan for him that used to be my brother's when he was little. I'm repeating the same thing. Little man's grown out of it, so he needs a new one. So why not use that blanket material to whip up a similar cardigan? So I also bought this new look pattern, and this is very similar to what we had, and I thought that this would be really cute. Is it button down? It is button down. It is button down. But I like that. I'm keen for it, so I might give that a go as well. So that's all the sewing patterns. I will say though that I did, where did I put them? They're all the way at the top there. Let me put my knitting down, it's still on my lap. I do have these 2 patterns. You may have seen them before on my Instagram. I sewed up little man some summer outfits. He's a very sweaty baby, so I made them sleeveless, especially using this one. But when I started making more, I actually ended up upping the size, so hopefully he gets some wear out of it next year as well. Again, I did these sleeveless. This one's great. It's size 2 through to 7, so value for money there. But I actually wanted to make him some more because they're so well used, and especially when he goes on play dates and he's running around berserk. I wanted him to have something a bit more, but with a it was time for a t-shirt. It was time for a t-shirt is what I'm trying to say here. So I got 2 sets of fabric. I got this beautiful, very loud rayon safari jungle print type thing. And then I also got these horsies. He loves horsies. It needs an iron, don't judge me, I just washed them. But this horsey print, it looks like a much smaller print online than it is in person. But yeah. So that's crazy. So that's sewing, that's knitting. I should actually probably plug my latest FO, which is the Britney Bandana. I'm not sure if you saw it. I posted a tutorial video on how to make this a couple weeks ago. I also have it as a free pattern on Ravelry. Link in the description. I know I keep talking about it. It honestly just was an experiment in me trying to knit a pattern. I have had some self-drafted patterns that I've worn out, and people have said how lovely it is and what did I use and so on. And I said I made it up off the top of my head. And they said, wow, you should do some pattern writing. Now, I've always been a bit cautious about pattern writing because it might just be like the negative echo chamber that is social media. But I just feel like when you release a pattern, if it's not 100% perfect and just a lot, you can get a lot of hate. And that's probably me just like over dramatizing and also getting very repeated negative experiences from people. I think most people at their heart really are understanding and can just sit down and figure out a pattern. So I thought, why not give it a go? So I took the relatively simple idea of the Sophie scarf, which is garter stitch. So I was like, cool. People are okay with garter stitch. There was a moment where we weren't, but we're okay with garter stitch. What is an Australian summer Sophie scarf? What is that? What, like, you know, creative challenge, what would that be? And I was like, okay, knit bandana. Awesome. How do we make that interesting? Because I did not want to do an I-cord edge on the triangles. I knew that, but what I thought I had not seen a lot of is a picot edge on a bandana, or really on anything, that wasn't picked up and then knitted after the object. So my challenge to myself was Australian summer Sophie scarf with inbuilt picot edging. And I think I managed to do that, if you look at that. So essentially what you do is you knit across, you cast on some stitches, you then knit across, and then you cast on some stitches, and then on the way back you cast these off, and then on the way back you cast these off. And so you tic-tac-toe in terms of creating a picot on each side. So it's super, super easy. Another thing that I wanted to do is I actually wanted to challenge myself to add some loops. I find that whenever I wear a bandana, it falls off. I have not worn a knit bandana before this, so I admit that. But I thought, why not create a spot where I can put a comb in so I can then secure it to my head. So I did that, and very quickly I'll show you. Actually, no, there's a picture. I'll show you the picture. So yeah, and that was pretty successful, but lo and behold, by the time I finished it, tried it on and kind of wore it around for a little bit, the cotton and the stretch of the knit meant that I could get quite a firm grip on my knot. So there wasn't really any problem, and I didn't really need to wear the comb, but it was a good design challenge. It's obviously optional in the pattern. You can just skip it entirely if it's not your jam. That's fine. If you do knit the pattern, please tag me on Instagram or give me feedback nicely. It's a free pattern, it's untested, that's what it is. And like, you know, I definitely want to fix it. If there's anything broken with it, let me know. I got 2 bandanas, one for me, one for sister. I'm not sure whose is whose yet. But yeah. Anyway, I have about 3 minutes left on this, and I definitely rambled. Let me know if you like a ramble, if you don't like a ramble, if you want more sewing, more knitting. What should I call this if it's not a knitting podcast? Like, if it's a knitting and sewing and a whatever I'm doing podcast, is it a craft cast? I don't know. Let me know. But I hope that you had a fun craft time. I know that I talked a lot and I got not as much knitting as I thought I might out of a little sit down, but that was fun. I hope that this kind of gave you also a bit more of an insight to who I am and what I'm like when there's no script and we're just jamming over here. But I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or tomorrow or whatever's going on for you. Let me know what you're working on. Okay, thanks, bye.